Hello everyone, this is Amayirot Akago, and you are watching my very first Let's Play of Space Quest 1, the Sarien Encounter. That is to say, you will be watching it in a minute, because as you can see, we are still in the DOSBox prompt right now. I'll be starting it up soon, but first let me tell you a little something about me and why I chose this game for my first Let's Play. Well, I'm here at Akago. You knew that already, of course. I'm 22 years old, from the Netherlands, and I'm an avid gamer, otaku, and general lover of weirdness. And the Space Quest series has always been a big favorite of mine. I'm a big fan of adventure games, and Sierra games, LucasArts games, especially. But Space Quest series has always appealed to me because, well, I've always been a sci-fi fan, I've always been a comedy fan, and seeing how Space Quest is a sci-fi comedy series, that's pretty much a winning combination right there. So, let's just jump right in and show you what the game is like. No, I do not want to use a joystick. Ah, that good old theme song. Always gets me. Da 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 da. Light years from Earth's solar system, the people of the galaxy Ernan have been struggling to maintain the precious balance of life. The sun of Ernan is slowly dying. The planets grow cold. Food is no longer plentiful. Life will soon become impossible to sustain. The scientific community of Xenon devised a plan to convert one of Ernan's lifeless planets into a new sun. So what, is Ernan a galaxy or a star system? The effort was centered around the development of a device called the Star Generator. The Star Generator would be capable of igniting an otherwise useless planet into a raging ball of flame. An expedition set out aboard the Starship Arcada to successfully complete development and testing of the Star Generator. The Arcada is now returning triumphantly to Xenon with the fully operational Star Generator. You serve as a member of the crew of the Arcada as a janitor. That's right, a janitor. And not a very good one. You would probably have been sacked and replaced, were the Arcada not millions of kilometers from Xenon. As we join our story, you have just completed one of your famous on-shift naps in one of the janitorial storage closets. And so we start our adventure by entering our name. As you may have noticed, the main character isn't named yet in this very first Space Quest game. The later installments he got the name Roger Wilco. At least that's what many people think, but if you don't enter a name and simply press enter right now, the game will call you Roger Wilco by default. Whereas many people think the name was first introduced in Space Quest 3, but for the sake of this Let's Play, I'll just enter in my own name right now. You are startled by the sound of an alarm. It is followed by an urgent voice which warns that the Arcada has been boarded by unknown intruders. It ends abruptly. What it doesn't tell us, however, is that the self-destruct system has been engaged, and we only have 15 minutes to get off the ship before it blows. So we better get moving. And that is quite an annoyance the first time you play and you're just wandering around wondering what to do, and suddenly the whole place just goes up in flames. Now anyway, this being an old-style Sierra adventure, you move your main character around with the arrow keys and perform actions simply by typing them in. This is the Arcada's data archive. Many volumes of information are stored on data cartridges. There is a computer console here. So we look screen. Welcome to the Arcada Data Archive Model DX Storage and Retrieval System. To select a cartridge, enter the title below. Press enter to quit. Title catalog available with top security clearance only. Well, that's a bit of a bummer, seeing how we're a janitor. Seeing as how I'm a janitor. It's an unfortunate habit of mine to refer to myself in plural. I don't know where that stems from exactly. Well, anyway, I digress. Anyway, as I was saying, since I'm a janitor, I doubt I have top security clearance, so we'll have to quit for now. Anyway, in here, after a while, a dying crewmate will enter the room, but he's a bit tricky to trigger sometimes. And again, that makes him easy to miss to first-time players. But I've learned that usually leaving and then re-entering the room works. Ah, there he is. The door opens and a man you recognize as one of the lab's scientists enter. He appears to be injured. After only a few steps, he slumps to the floor. A large laser hole has been burned in his uniform through which you can see previously unexposed tissue. Struggling painfully, he raises up on one elbow. He tells you the Arcada is under attack and that the star generator is in danger. You had better leave if you value your life. And again, no mention of the self-destruct system. He looks over toward the shelves full of cartridges and utters the words, "astral body." He then settles to the floor, lifeless. Sounds like a clue to me. So naturally, we walk on over to the retrieval unit and enter astral body. Title found, retrieving. And we sit back and wait while the retrieval unit does his thing. And now we get cartridge. Done. Pressing F4 brings us to the inventory screen and lets us examine our currently carried objects a little closer. This is a data storage cartridge. In other words, astral body formation, the untold story. Now I should probably save the game at this point. This is a bit of an embarrassing story. I actually did a let's play of this, or at least I did a recording for a let's play, or an attempt at a recording, earlier today. And when I finished, I found, to my annoyance, that DOSBox didn't save the video file because I quit DOSBox before I stopped the recording. That's why right now I'm sitting here doing the whole thing over again. Anyway, back to the issue at hand. I'm saving the game right here because I like to show you what happens if I try to read the contents of the cartridge right here. Yeah. The alien observes his handiwork briefly, then leaves. As you lie on the floor in a smoldering carbo-gelatinous heap, you can't help but wonder why you bothered getting up this morning. And this is followed by the generic "thank you for dying" message. Thank you for playing Space Quest. Too bad you failed miserably and doomed all your people to a horrible death at the hands of the Sariens. If you continue playing as skillfully as this, we'll never have a chance for a sequel. Better luck next time. And naturally we restore the game right now. So, inserting the cartridge is, for some stupid reason, absolutely impossible right now. Now, aside from the danger of blowing up by loitering too long, this Arcada is also littered with Sarien patrols who occasionally pop up. The game will warn you of this, and if you fail to hide in time, they'll pop up and shoot you to death. Very funny. Anyway, here's a body of one of my crewmates. Searching him nets me a key card, which will come in handy soon. I better be careful. moving to another floor, to another screen, can suddenly cause a Sarian guard or soldier to appear. They're not exactly guards because they're not guarding anything. So yeah. And in here we find... This is the Star Generator Development Laboratory. Due to your incredibly low security clearance, you have never been allowed access to this room. But now the Star Generator is missing. Something tells me those dastardly Sariens had something to do with that. Anyway, we've done all we can up here, so it's time to move on further downwards. You noticed right there it said, "You think you hear footsteps" at the bottom of the screen, which indicates a Sarian guard was approaching, and if I stuck around for too long, he'd have appeared, noticed me, and shot me if I wasn't hiding. But going down the elevator is the next best thing, I guess. Now again, going through the game for the very first time, there's a lot of things you're bound to miss. Like right here is a panel that controls the bay doors. And yes, I have to type exactly that, push open bay door, to open the bay door, because if the bay doors are closed I won't be able to fly out of here in a minute. Anyway, this screen is also a bit of a pain, because sometimes when you're halfway through, it'll give the "you hear footsteps" message all of a sudden, and you have absolutely no time to hide, meaning you're as good as dead. Anyway, this is what I needed the keycard for, to get down here. Walk over to this panel here to open the airlock. I type push airlock because the button is marked airlock. Simply typing push button makes the game say which button do you want to push. And coming back to design flaws again, these closets contain, respectively, from left to right, a gadget and a suit. Now the suit I'll need right now because, as I'll show you, otherwise this happens when I try to enter the bay with the bay doors open. Oops, forgot my suit. That concludes your experiment involving the effects of total vacuum on the human body, Amayirot Akago. So yeah, we need that suit. And this gadget, like I said, is also easy to miss. But it isn't as noticeable right now, because it only comes in handy later on in the game. So if you don't have it by then, you're fucked. Which is a very, very common flaw when it comes to Sierra games, unfortunately. Anyway, we push the platform button to reveal the escape pod, which will get us out of here. And we definitely want to get out of here as soon as we can. Enter pod. Close door. Fasten seat belt. Push power. Pull throttle. Yeah, I'm speeding through all this because even though I'm pretty sure I still have plenty of time left, I want to get out of here as fast as I can. The escape pod moves slowly out of the vehicle bay and into space. Congratulations, you have narrowly escaped an explosive death. Don't start patting yourself on the back just yet, though. You are now traveling aimlessly through the cosmos. Now in here there's a neat little Easter egg. Looking at the buttons we can press, there are 3 buttons here. They are marked Auto Nav, Power, and Don't Touch. Now I'm going to save the game again and push the Don't Touch button. I said don't touch! I warned you! This background may appear familiar to Sierra fans. Ken, did you hear something?
It was probably just the Gators entertaining another Space Quest player. Go back to sleep, Berta. Through a strange quirk of fate, or was it, you have stumbled into a place beyond time, space, and dimension. You have entered the Daventry Zone! That's right, the land of King's Quest. This will not help you now, since you are playing Space Quest.
And landing in a moat filled with gators probably didn't help matters much either. By the by, a land beyond space, time, and dimension, that actually describes the King's Quest series pretty well. I kid. Don't get me wrong, I love King's Quest, but like other Sierra games, it has some serious flaws. Anyway, what we're supposed to be doing in here is press the autonav button. I should point out, by the way, even for its time, with the limited palette of 16 colors and low resolution, they still managed to produce some pretty impressive things graphics-wise occasionally, especially when it came to close-ups like this. Anyway, the monitor flashes. You study it to see what new information is being displayed. The planet Kerona, which the two guys from Andromeda, the designers of the Space Quest series, are named after Kerona beer. Yeah. The autonav system has locked onto the small planet of Kerona and the pod has begun its approach. Nothing to do now but hang on. This is a really neat little animation here. Really evokes a classic sci-fi movie feel for some reason. After a skull-jarring landing, you peer through the shattered viewing port out onto the desert landscape. A feeling of utter desolation settles in. You're in a fine mess now, Amayirot Akago. Well, I guess the first thing we should do is unfasten seatbelt. And perhaps we should search the pod for anything that might help us here on the surface. I don't understand your request. Search? That does not compute. Look around? Are you sure you want to look at that? Well, fuck it. Let's just get the survival kit, which is in here. Yeah. Problem with parser-based games is there are sometimes really specific about what you're supposed to be typing in. So yeah, we've got the survival kit. Let's have a look inside. This is your survival kit. It contains a Xenon army knife and a can of dehydrated water. Now, for those of you who may be wondering what is the point of dehydrated water, let's look at the can. This is a cylinder of dehydrated water. At the top of the cylinder is a regulator and a short nozzle. On the side is a label. And reading the label, we get this. The can's label says, Pelvatron's dehydrated water H2. All you add is air. Makes 10 gallons. Directions. To use, simply drink from nozzle. Metered amounts will be dispensed. Caution. Do not attempt to open or rupture. Misuse could result in personal injury and or flash flooding. So basically what we have here is a can of dihydrogen which turns into water if it's exposed to oxygen, which is a pretty neat idea as far as science fiction concepts go. Anyway, it'll help us survive out here in the desert as well. Now we need to get a bit of glass from the pod's windshield, which will come in handy later on. Now the only direction we can go here is east, because, I'll show you right now, if we try to go any other direction, like north, eventually this will happen. You have just become a vertical meal for the local welcoming committee. Yeah. That there was Grell, obviously inspired by the sandworms from Dune, who basically serves to keep unwary players away from places they shouldn't be poking around in. So like I said, we can only go east from here. Up here is a little hole. Gee, I wonder if there's anything useful in there. Guess not. But whatever was in there found me pretty tasty.
Whatever is in that hole just enjoyed lunch. On you. This should teach you to be cautious when encountering alien holes.
I'll be sure to keep that in mind from now on. Anyway, moving on further to the east. As soon as I get past these damn rocks, we come across some vegetation, which we can obtain. Although, oddly enough, it doesn't net me any points. And examining it, it is a plant you are not familiar with. And, oddly enough, it doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. There's no puzzles to be solved with it. You can try eating it. You plant your teeth into the strange plant to take a large bite, only to find it tastes exquisitely bad. If you had your choice, you would choose any form of death over a meal of this. So, my guess is the two guys were planning on using it in some puzzle, but eventually that idea got scrapped and the plant was left over. So yeah. However, in the remake, the plant does serve a purpose, which I'll come back to later on. For now, let's just move on up here. Any second now, we should be getting a visit from a very unwelcome guest. Yeah, way to ruin the suspense there. I'm sorry. But what I love about this area, by the way, is just the whole atmosphere of utter desolation, solitude. It's what the Space Quest series does a lot, and very effectively, I might add, especially as time goes on and they manage to increase the immersion through background music and atmospheric effects and stuff like that. So yeah, not much happening right now. Oh, that's what I was talking about.
Suddenly, you see a large black metal sphere falling out of the sky. A Sarien spider droid. Upon touching down on the planet's surface, it sprouts legs and begins its search for you. You recall from an article in Space Piston magazine that this droid is designed to seek out organic life forms and self-destruct when contact is made.
So yeah, we definitely want to avoid that thing for now, but up here, it can't touch us. But we'll have to deal with it sooner or later. Well, you notice these arches here? Very conspicuous, don't you think? And yeah, standing between them, we find a hidden elevator which brings us down to a system of caves. Now we'll be needing this rock here in a minute. Now this here is what I was talking about earlier. Here, well, this grating contains a tentacled monster which will try and eat you if you simply try to walk across it. So instead we have to push ourselves against the wall and avoid it that way. However, in the remake, that is not an option. Instead, what you have to do is you get the plant, which is rather sticky, and use it to trap the tentacles, thereby rendering it unable to eat you, and you'll be able to safely pass it. Anyway, put the rock on this geyser to reveal a hidden door. And this here is a pool of purple liquid. Now, why anyone would ever drink from this when they have a perfectly usable can of dehydrated water on them is beyond me, but what the heck? Let's try it anyway. Now, you may have noticed I always like to add in my current score behind the name of a save game, which is handy to keep track of my progress. So, let's have a sip. You lean over to drink from the tempting pool of liquid. As your lips touch the fluid, you feel a pain which could be likened to kissing a lit rocket nozzle. Now you know what they mean when they say, "Don't drink the water." Actually, I don't. But I guess it applies to this situation pretty well.
That's right, you have no head. That darn pool must be filled with acid. You obviously can't go on living that way.
So yeah, let's not try doing that again. Now, oddly enough though, the only way to drink from the pool is to stand right in front of it. If you type this command drink water anywhere else, you simply take a sip from the dehydrated water. And I probably should have lingered on that text box a little longer, but oh well, you get the idea. And this here passage is a bit hard to find as well. Ah, God, that noise. Yeah, as you can imagine, I'm using a headset right now, and this is not pretty to listen to with earphones on. Anyway, it's pretty obvious, of course, that you can't just pass through those beams, because otherwise this happens. And that is where the glass comes into play. And naturally, if you weren't carrying the glass before, you'd be stuck right now. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the gadget we picked up earlier. Written on the electronic gadget are the words dialect translator. On one end is a dial and a light, currently dim. Now, turn the dial to turn it on, because we'll be needing this in a minute. And again, just like the glass, if you weren't carrying this around before, you'd be stuck. Now we come upon a new obstacle. These drops of acid, which will kill me if they hit me. So, I gotta be nimble and try not to get hit by them, which isn't that hard, but standing in the wrong spot isn't always as obvious as it should be. And moving further, we come upon a very dark cave.
As soon as you enter the room, you find yourself surrounded by darkness. Suddenly, you become aware of the fact that you cannot move or speak. A strange, unknown force has taken over.
This is a pretty neat effect, too.
A massive holographic image appears before you. You sense that you are the only life form in the area.
And this is why we needed the dialect translator, because without it we wouldn't be able to understand him. He would just get annoyed and kick us out.
So, you have found your way to my hallowed chamber. I have been monitoring your travels on our planet. It appears that you are up the proverbial estuary without a means of locomotion.
In other words, we're stuck without a way to travel.
You are obviously in need of transportation. Let us see if you are worthy of our assistance. On the surface lives a beast called Orat. He proves to be a bit of an annoyance on occasion. Dispose of him and bring back evidence of your conquest. Only then will I deal with your plight. Good luck, strange one.